Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we're looking at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie 1/6 scale collectible figure of Raphael from ThreeZero. Now, you guys know I already looked at Leonardo and Michelangelo, and I thought they were pretty darn good. They were pretty impressive. They had a couple issues here and there, but by and large, they're pretty solid figures that I recommended. I thought you guys might want to pick them up. Now, a lot of people are really excited about Raphael, and he's pretty much the same as the other guys, but he does have a couple of issues which are kind of strange. And then, of course, he has a couple of things that are pretty good also. So let's just get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, so this guy stands just about 13.5 inches, right around there. And I don't have metric, unfortunately, for something that size, so I have to apologize to those of you guys who don't use inches. I apologize. So he's pretty good size, and I will have a photo at the end comparing all of their heights. I don't have them all with me right now since I'm in the middle of a move, and these are actually my brother's figures, and it's just, I don't have them with me, so I can't do them right here. But you will see a photo at the end with all 4 turtles, so just wait for that. Now, in terms of accessories, this guy has the sunglasses, which you can see right on top of his head. They are removable if you want them to be. You can't really put them over his eyes or anything, so they're just gonna sit on top of the head. They're pretty well done. They have the little white band on there, and then the cracked lens, so they look pretty cool. They feel a little fragile, and they kind of are a pressure fit on here, so be careful. But I don't think you're gonna have to really worry about breaking them. It's a little tricky to find the right spot to set them, but it's not too bad. Other accessories include, which is kind of strange, it says on the listing that it includes an army knife, and I'm assuming they're talking about this. I can't get it out, and as far as I can tell, it's not functional, so I guess you could count that as an accessory, but you probably don't want to. He won't stop trying to fall over. Stop that. And then he also has 4 total hands. He has 2 fist hands and 2 weapon gripping hands. And then, of course, if he has weapon gripping hands, he needs weapons, which are his size. And they look really good. The detail on them is really nice. The only problem is that they actually did wrap the handles with cloth. Now, it does have some kind of coating or polyurethane over it to make it more durable, but it's wrapped in cloth, and the hands are wrapped in cloth, and fitting the weapons in the hands is nearly impossible, even after heating the hands up, so use a whole lot of caution. You can fit the size in the hands either way, with the blade between the fingers, or like he's holding it like a regular weapon. So it's up to you. You just have to be super careful getting the hands on there. And that's it for the accessories, so that's pretty straightforward. As far as the figure goes, he does a lot of this stuff the same way as the other ones. We're going to get into the articulation in just a minute. As far as the overall aesthetic of the figure, all of the straps are real fake leather, so they look really nice. It looks like the real thing, so that's cool. We have these kind of suede straps down here for his loincloth thing. We have a lot of a bigger chunk around here. It goes all the way around, and it's pretty cool looking. And then we have these bits back here, which are supposed to look like duct tape, so that's pretty cool. It does look accurate. This one's coming off. It was like that in the package. It's not meant to. You can see where the glue was supposed to hold it down, and it's not. So be careful. You don't want to handle these guys and accidentally rip something off, so be super careful about that. Looks like this back strap has a functional belt. I don't want to mess with it because it's super fragile, but it does seem to be fully functional. So if you want to tighten this up, I would recommend it because it does tend to fall down very easily while you're handling the figure. It likes to just go like this. And that's not the best look, so you can just pull it up and maybe tighten it a little bit. One thing to note is this is connected to the horizontal part of the belt, which also has a buckle on there. It doesn't have the little latch on it though, so don't worry about having to adjust it. And then it wraps all the way around to where he holds the size. We do have the red cloth mixed in, and of course you have the bandages all the way around. He has the red cloth bandana, which is pretty cool because on the top of the head, we have just the plastic, and then they connected the cloth to the back, and then we have the red cloth hanging down also. And it doesn't look too bad. Most of it is pretty seamless. They did a good job with the sculpt blending into the cloth. So that's pretty cool. In terms of the figure, we have basically rubber bodysuit for the upper body, standard legs for the lower body. So if you guys remember from my other videos, the rubber bodysuit doesn't work that well, and it is the case for this guy also. The legs work much better, however, they actually have a new problem, which is super bummer. It's a super bummer. That's a thing. We're going to go with that. So let's just run into the articulation. Now, I'm pretty sure on the other guys, the whole head had a ball peg in the torso, and then there's a long peg that went up to the head so you can move it around and the neck would flex with it. This one doesn't seem to have that. It feels to me like the only functional articulation is the peg at the top, which is where the head connects like your average action figure. Doesn't seem to want to move too much. I'm pretty sure it's just the plastic flexing with the head. So be aware that the head's going to have a little bit different range of motion. Some people are saying that it looks like the head's sitting way too high or is maybe too small. They might be right. It does look like it might have something off about it, but it's not particularly noticeable in hand. It looks way worse in photos than it does in hand, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Some people are also saying there's too much green in the face and the shoulders, and it doesn't quite blend. And again, kind of, yes, but once you get him posed up, and once he's on your shelf, you won't notice it too much. And you can see he's got a lot of detail in the face. Let me get up there for you. And it looks pretty good. I like it. It's not bad. He does have that weird hole in his nose, and maybe that's accurate. I don't really remember from the first movie, but it's worth noting that there might be a hole in his nose that's not supposed to be there. Now, for the articulation for the shoulders, it's essentially the same as before. Let's bring the camera down a little bit so you can see that. He has the standard ball hinge, which brings the arms all the way horizontal. It's not the full range, but it's probably good enough given the size of the figure. I think it'll be okay. And then, of course, those can hinge down, and you can see the plastic in there for the actual articulation. This is rubber bodysuit, and this is too. The seam could be a little bit better, but I think it works well enough. You can rotate the arm all the way around, of course, aside from where the shell is. And then there is a bit of a bicep swivel in there. Solid rubber for the arms, which does create a fold in the elbows. And they are double jointed elbows, but you get about 90 degrees only. They don't look terrible on him. His seem to look a little bit better once they're posed, so that's a good thing. You still get a whole lot of folding, and as far as I'm concerned, they should have just gone with the arms the way they went with the legs, which is just the plastic, so that there's no real flexing issues. It's just two separate pieces of plastic, but it's not bad on the arms, so I wouldn't worry about it. And for the wrists, we have a single ball peg, which lets the hands move around like this. There's a big gap though, and it's not as bad on these hands, the fist hands, but the hands that hold the size, the gap is even bigger, so be aware of that. And when you bend the arm, it pulls the suit even farther away from the wrist. So it's not going to look great unless you are really mindful of it when you're posing, so just be careful with that. For the torso articulation, there is a separation here, which allows for the entire upper body to move independently of the lower torso, so you can get your rotation out of it. And you don't get the best range just because there are straps and everything, but it works pretty well, so I don't think that's too much of an issue. He can lean back a little bit, but the shell's in the way. You can lean forward a little bit, just doesn't go that far. And he can lean side to side a little bit. He feels to be a little more resistant to posing than the other guys, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is the nature of a figure that's not quite human anatomy. It's going to happen. Now, for the crotch area, this is one of the problems we have with this guy, unfortunately. We have this weird turtle diaper thing. So we have this soft plastic that goes over the inside skeleton where the articulation is, but it tends to tuck in on this side, and I can't get it to pop out. And on this side, it stays out. So I don't know, it's a little strange looking. And here's the thing though, the articulation, just like the shoulders, you have your standard ball hinge, so you can bring the leg all the way out to the side, no problem at all there. You have your thigh swivel, no problem at all there. When you try to bring the leg forward, you really can't unless you rotate it and bring it out at an angle, and then it's still really limited. So it's not terrible, but it is worth noting that the hips don't have the greatest range of motion. I do have to say, I really do prefer the sculpted plastic as opposed to the bodysuit, so that is a really good thing for the legs, and they hid the joints with the cloth. It's red on this one, white on this one. You still get the range. However, for some reason, they didn't give you the range. You would have had no problem due to the cloth, but they just didn't sculpt it that way, so the knees are pretty limited despite the traditional hinge in the knee. And then lastly, for the ankles, we have a ball peg, which lets the foot move around pretty well, but it tends to just pop off. And when it does, this piece comes off, which could be a good thing if you don't want it. Personally, I think he looks better without it, but you're going to have to be really careful when you're posing the ankle, because any flexing that's more than just a tiny bit will pop the foot off, and it's going to be a hassle. It will be enough to get him to stand pretty effectively, but it's not super tight, so just be careful. You don't want him in a crazy pose and then taking a shelf dive. So be careful with that. So all in all, he's not a bad figure. He might not be as good as the other two, but I think if you're collecting this line, I think he's going to be good enough for you. I don't think you're going to have too many problems. If you watch this video especially, you're going to know what you're looking for. So I think you'll be okay with it. So I do recommend it, just with some reservations. Be aware of the issues before you go into posing it or handling it or letting it take a shelf dive. That kind of thing. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have a new video every single day, sometimes more than one, so you might be surprised. And we do action figures, video games, TV, movies, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you subscribe, and in the meantime, keep collecting.